Speaker Kevin McCarthy met with the president of Taiwan yesterday, and American likely voters overwhelmingly approve. Now, these numbers were supposed to drop yesterday, but you'll have to forgive the fact that our astonishing Trump versus Biden numbers bumped this story. But here's the question. Should McCarthy meet with the president of Taiwan? 66% of likely voters said yes, and only 17% said no. The party numbers are surprising, and there wasn't much of a signal, believe it or not. Democrats and Republicans were only 3 points apart on the no response, but Democrats were 9 points less likely to say yes than Republicans. What's driving that? Although Democrats are much less likely than other political affiliations to see China as an enemy, they don't necessarily see China as an ally either. Also, when asked in February if they would support or oppose defending Taiwan from China using the U.S. Navy, Democrats were just as likely as anyone else to say yes. But notice the complete lack of anti-war signal, something that did still exist at least a little bit in the self-identified liberal results. But on meeting with Taiwan, why are they 9 points less likely to say yes on this one? My guess is they oppose anything Kevin McCarthy is doing. But check out this strangeness. Biden approval numbers. The two strongest signals here are Biden's strong approvers and Biden's strong disapprovers. In case you weren't aware, those groups usually don't agree on anything. It's only the somewhat disapproves who are the outliers here, and they basically have no opinion. How do you rate the way President Joe Biden is handling issues related to China? Pretty bad, apparently. 37% of likely voters say excellent or good, but 46% say poor. How does that stack up against his other issues? Well, he's certainly had lower numbers, especially for illegal immigration. But here's how people answered the same question a little over 4 months ago. Only a 31% combined excellent or good, so he has improved a bit, in line with increases on other issues. But his poor results are unchanged since then. These numbers are about equivalent to how he's currently rated on issues like economy and crime and law enforcement. Here are the party numbers showing that although Republicans are very much leading the negative signal here, independents are also giving him a thrashing. And Democrats' rating on this issue are tepid at best. Only 58% give Biden a combined excellent or good, and only 30% an excellent. 38% of Democrats, however, say fair or poor. Now, the backdrop to this is also that 38% of Democrats think it's at least somewhat likely that Joe Biden personally profited from his son's business deals in China. How likely is it that China will invade Taiwan in the next few years? 70% of U.S. voters say likely, including 38% who say very likely. Only 2% say not at all likely. Now, by themselves, those numbers are pretty sobering, but unfortunately, we don't have history on this question to use as a benchmark. The truth is, for almost all of our polling history, China, although not seen as an ally, was not necessarily seen as an enemy either, at least until late in Donald Trump's presidential term. But here's what we can benchmark this question against. In February, 48% of U.S. likely voters said that in the next 5 years, the U.S. would go to war with China, though only 18% said very likely. Now, not a lot has changed with China since then, so the headline is that a huge majority of voters, 70%, see Taiwan being invaded in just the next few years, 38% saying very likely, but less than half think we will be at war with China in 5 years, and only 18% of voters say very likely. Although voters overwhelmingly supported economic sanctions and naval and air military action to defend Taiwan, the fact remains that these numbers do not reflect a ton of confidence in our ability to militarily deter China from invading. But is there more to glean from the demographic numbers? Well, voters pretty consistently think an invasion is likely across gender, age, and race. But here's party. Republicans are much more pessimistic. 80% of them say it's likely, including 52%, a majority, who say very likely. Only 12% say it's not likely. 65% of independents and 66% of Democrats also think Taiwan's getting invaded in the next few years, but 20 points less of each say very likely. But here's the incredible one. How likely Taiwan is to be invaded based on how voters rate Biden on the issue of China. Those who rate Biden poor are most likely to think Taiwan will be invaded. An astounding 84% of them say it's at least somewhat likely, and 57% say very likely. The responses among those who say good and fair are pretty non-committal, but look at those who rate Biden excellent on China. 66% of them say it's likely that China will invade Taiwan in the next few years, including 31% who say very likely. Let me say that another way. A strong majority, 2/3 of those who rate Biden excellent on China, think Taiwan is likely to be invaded, essentially during Biden's presidency. I thought that was pretty fascinating. Do you agree? Post your thoughts in the comments. And if you have any other suggestions on questions we should ask about China and Taiwan, put them in the video comments as well. Please follow us on Twitter. And if you haven't watched our video yet about Trump's numbers from yesterday, it'll be linked at the end of this video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.